What's going on? What's your hypothesis?
Let me set the water off with the hypothesis.
All right, so catch us all up on what you're doing.
Well, the whole reason I even started the process is we were in a no-wake zone, and we were letting the boat idle, and the boat was loading up. The engine was loading up real bad. We were getting a lot of smoke, and it was wanting to stall out. It just wouldn't run it idle. So I brought it home and rebuilt the carburetors in it, put all new fuel filters in it, and cleaned it up. And we went back out on the water, and it ran perfect all day. Like, it idled perfectly. It still was a little rich in my opinion, but it idled good. It would run all day long in an idle. And then we went all day, and then on our way back, it would go about half throttle, but as soon as you tried to floor it, there was nothing there. It just wasn't getting gas. So then I come home and I replaced all the filters again, and I put a new fuel pump on it, and still it's not running. And I got to thinking, it's only two things. I screwed up the rebuild on the carburetor, or we're not getting fuel from the gas tank for whatever reason. So I bypassed the gas tank with this contraption, and it seems to run fine with the gravity fed, without the fuel pump having to pull the fuel from the gas tank. So I guess from here I'm going to replace all the fuel lines. There's an enzyme cleaner that's supposed to clean the gas tank, and I'm going to try that. If that doesn't happen, then I got to cut a hole in the boat, because this particular boat doesn't have a hatch for the fuel tank. So I'm going to have to put a 10-inch I forget what you call them, deal there, and I'm going to have to actually cut a hole in the gas tank and put a lid on the gas tank and see if I can get in there and actually clean the ethanol and whatever's in there out of there.
So where is your makeshift fuel thing here? What did you do?
Oh, I just put some plumbing fittings together.
Where is the actual fuel at?
It went in here.
Oh, so you were pouring it into there, going straight into the lines?
Yeah, and then I was wondering if this screen filter was clogged up too, but it
you
looked really good.
You changed this too, didn't you?
Yeah, this is brand spanking new.
That thing's brand new.
But if there's ethanol in there, this screen stuff's easy to clog up. I remember one time me and Mike were having a problem with his golf cart. We put I don't remember what it was. I think a Kawasaki 600 street bike engine in this golf cart. And we were having problems with it running. I pulled the injectors out, and there was little like gel BBs, and that was my first experience with ethanol. And I don't know, it's not the actual ethanol. I think the ethanol actually pulls fuel or water, and that's what, I'm not 100% sure how all that works, but somehow ethanol gums up over time. And another bad thing is too, our tank's aluminum, and I'm pretty sure that ethanol eats aluminum. So I think we're at our worst case scenario, but we're going to keep pushing forward. Keep going until it works.
Since this worked, so he was saying when we were going, he could hear. He stopped the boat in the water, and he was like, "It's not getting all the fuel." I don't know. What were you trying to explain to me then when you stopped the boat in the water and saying it wasn't getting fuel?
Well, when we were trying to go, like I would try to get the boat up on the plane, and I'd kind of give it half throttle and go to full boogie, and then nothing from half throttle to full boogie. There was nothing. So I'd back it back off, and the boat would run at about half throttle. So it would just get up on the plane easy. And I got us back to the boat dock, and then when I tried working on it this afternoon, it wouldn't even idle in the yard. Like at least in the river, it would have run at half throttle.
I remember you saying it started out when we first got it and took it in the water that first day. It was getting, you were saying loading up. You call it loading up.
Too much fuel.
Too much fuel. Then you replaced that little piece.
Yeah.
That I'll stick the picture in if I don't. I think I have video of that, but I'll stick the picture in.
To the float, like a perch. The float perch itself, it was broken. Whoever had the carburetor up before, the perch was actually broken.
Yeah.
So I fabricated a little perch out of aluminum, and I epoxied it to it.
Yeah, I think I have that clip. I'll run that clip.
Yeah. So that way the float wasn't, sitting off to the side and doing weird stuff in there. So the float was right.
All right. So Todd was out here trying to rebuild our carburetor for the boat, and he finally discovered, look at that. It's completely broke off. But the genius I'm married to literally made the piece out of what?
Out of aluminum.
Out of aluminum. And is about to attach it here. And what does this piece do?
It's the float perch for the floats in the carburetor. The boat was loading up real bad in no wake zones, And so I figured it was just the seats were gummed up. I was taking the carburetor apart, and I'm like, man, this thing's really clean. And I couldn't believe it was gumming up. When I pulled the floats out, I discovered that one of the perches were broke. So I tried to order another carburetor. They're hard to find them. They're $500 to boot. So I'm going to give this a shot. It really doesn't hold no weight or anything. I just need the other perch to the other side so it'll hold the float square.
Literally made it. What in the heck? You can't even, he says you can't even order these carburetors because they're so old. Or what does it go to? 97 or 98?
Yeah, I might be able to find a carburetor. You just can't call Yamaha or a Yamaha dealer and get it. I tried, and they're $500 for a new carburetor.
So he literally made the piece of aluminum. I am so impressed.
$500 will make you do some things.
So you fix that.
Yeah, I tried to just go through the thing. So we got a fuel tank, and the fuel leaves the fuel tank, goes into a fuel filter. So I replace the fuel filter.
Look around here, I'm pointing into the sun.
And I went to the fuel filter and I put a new bulb in it because from when I found out these have actual check valves in them to keep stuff from going different directions. So I replaced that just to make sure a check valve wasn't going. And it comes up to here, it goes to another fuel filter, and then goes into the carburetor. So you just got to, go through from A to B. So we just basically took away the fuel tank, and
this is 22. It's a 98.
Yeah.
So at this point in 2000, it's 22 years old.
Yeah. Same year as the truck. Oh,
yeah.
mighty whitey.
The Dodge, yeah.
But I'm glad I did it. I was fixing to pull the carburetors off, and I'm like, man, my gut was telling me it's not the carburetors.
Yeah, you've already had them off and repaired.
Well,
so.
I could have made a mistake in the carburetors because there's two different kits. This is a 98, and from like 90, I think it's 96 and down, there's a kit for it, and like 2000. This model engine is right in where they transferred stuff. So I actually think this has got the earlier model carburetors on a later model engine, because the rebuild kit for the later model didn't have all the stuff that the earlier model did. But this thing says it's a 98 off the VIN, or not VIN, but whatever the motor code.
What else have you replaced on this?
Nothing really. Spark plugs and put new plugs in it.
Oh, he wired some really cool lights up here. One time we were driving, like one of the first times, and all of a sudden he comes to a complete stop, and I'm like, what's going on? And he says, we're in a field of lily pads. So it was really dark and we didn't see it. So he cut the engine and he tried to start it again and it didn't start. And then he was like, oh gosh, we're done. And then he tried again and it started. So he has now mounted headlights on the boat, which apparently can be angled out and down. So if we're floundering, gigging, anything like that.
I got the plugs. So right inside here, the anchor latch, I'm going to put a plug here and a plug here.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to build a PVC rod that comes off here, and then another PVC
that
goes from here to here, and then they'll go down in the water, and we'll be able to turn the gigging lights on.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so.
Pretty cool. Other than that, that's all
I'm going to get the same lights. These things were $16.
And where'd you get them?
This Amazon. Everything.
I'll have to link it.
Yeah.
Link it in the video.
They're like, dude, and they make your retinas burn.
Yeah,
they're for real.
They're really bright.
And they're not bad. They're only 70 watts. Because
Yeah.
I was looking at a lot of them like 120 watts, and then our boat, these old two-strokes, from what I understand, they only put out like 9 amps. I think that's at idle, but I don't know. I get more research to do on it. It's not a lot of information, but it's not a whole lot of wattage to run the engine and run this and run that, plus lights. So I got these hooked up to our trolling motor lights. So I wanted to get lights that didn't.
Oh yeah, he's got our mount for our trolling motor here.
Yeah, that's another thing. Brand spanking new trolling motor.
Minn Kota. I told you, Blue Gabe said don't buy Minn Kota.
And then I got
and he argued with me, and he bought a Minn Kota, and now he's kicking himself.
Well, there's you get Motor Guide or something like that, and everybody says them are junk. And Minn Kota, I mean, what do you do? And then so I just went with Minn Kota because that's the most easy to get. And then I emailed Minn Kota or whatever, Minn Kota warehouse or where we bought it from. So now I got to go to a dealer here in town to have them look at it. And I called them. Oh, sorry, we're going to be we won't be back till after New Year's. I'm like,
oh jeez.
I'm scared to take the boat out without the trolling motor to get back to the dock.
Oh Jeez, look at Kaya. She don't care.
We'll get it though. I bought the trailer. I didn't buy the boat.
Kaya says she's just fine. She didn't. We just got back. We've been back for about 15 minutes from the little store at the corner, and she's not gotten out yet.
I promise you, I'll take you on your dinner. Her birthday and Christmas present was for me to take her on a restaurant on the water.
But he has worked so hard day in and day out.
I'm about to go get a 4-inch piece of PVC, and we'll just keep filling the PVC pipe up.
Jeez. He was supposed to take me on a boat ride to a restaurant, and well, I mean, that's just what I requested, so I don't care when it happens. Actually, Ross is going to be happy that it doesn't happen now, because he's wanting.
He wants to go.
He wants the boat. That was what he wanted to do. He wanted to ride the boat to the restaurant and go eat. So when I told him that's what we wanted to do, Ross was like, "Oh man, like they're going to be gone up north." So it'll work better